Have you ever felt like your ex still cares, but something invisible is stopping them from reaching out? Maybe they're watching your stories, liking your posts, checking in through mutual friends, but they don't say a word. And you're left wondering if they feel something, why aren't they doing anything about it? That silence can be more confusing than a straight-up goodbye. It keeps you stuck in a loop of overthinking, analyzing every tiny sign, and waiting for a message that never comes. I'm Jim Rohn, and in this video we're diving deep into the 5 signs that your ex may actually be afraid to come back, not because they've stopped caring, but because fear, pride, guilt, or emotional wounds are standing in the way. And here's the truth most people won't tell you. Just because someone is quiet doesn't mean they're over it. Sometimes silence is self-protection. Sometimes it's inner conflict. But understanding the difference between avoidance and true detachment is everything when it comes to letting go with clarity instead of clinging to false hope. This video isn't about chasing or decoding mixed signals to get someone back. It's about helping you see the truth clearly so you can stop waiting in emotional limbo and start choosing yourself again. If you've been stuck in the pain of unanswered questions or holding on to hope that's hurting more than helping, this is your chance to find peace and perspective. And if you're ready to heal with power, not panic, go ahead and hit that subscribe button now. Every week I share grounded, no-fluff insight to help you grow through what you go through, especially when love gets messy. Let's get into it. The first sign is that they keep in touch, but only on a surface level. One of the clearest but most overlooked signs that your ex might be afraid to come back is when they stay just close enough to keep the connection alive, but never truly open up. They'll respond to your messages, maybe agree to casual meetups, and even share light conversations. On the surface, it looks like hope, but if you look closer, you'll notice something's missing: depth. They'll avoid talking about the relationship, dodge anything that makes them feel exposed or emotionally accountable. It's like they want the warmth of your presence without the weight of emotional vulnerability. And the truth is, that's not by accident. For some people, emotional intimacy feels dangerous. They're terrified of what it means to be seen, to commit, to risk hurting or being hurt again. Maybe they don't trust themselves to make you happy. Maybe they're still confused about what they want. Or maybe deep down they've convinced themselves that staying halfway in is safer than choosing to fully show up or walk away with integrity. Whatever the reason, this kind of in-between space isn't love. It's fear wearing a friendly face. And here's where a lot of people get stuck. You think that if you just stay patient, keep texting, keep showing you care, eventually they'll come around. But what if this version of almost is actually comfortable for them? No commitment, no expectations, no growth. Just emotional crumbs you keep trying to bake into a meal. Ask yourself, are you okay living in limbo just because they're scared to move forward? Or is it time to get honest about what you need? Because the longer you tolerate emotional ambiguity, the more you train someone to offer you less than what you deserve. And look, I get it, this is messy. It's confusing, but clarity isn't something that magically appears when they're ready. Sometimes it's something you have to choose for yourself. So tell me in the comments, have you ever felt like someone wanted you close but not too close? Are you in that space now? I want to hear your story. And if you're not sure where you stand with your ex, I created a quick quiz that can help you figure out if reconciliation is truly on the table or if it's time to start letting go. The link's below. It only takes a minute, but it could give you the clarity you've been needing. Stick around, because in the rest of this video, we're going to break down exactly how to spot these emotional mixed signals and what to do about them before you waste more of your precious time. The second sign is that they give mixed signals: dynamic, static, hot, cold. If you've been dealing with an ex who seems to blow hot and cold, one minute they're texting you with enthusiasm, maybe even suggesting a meetup, and the next they vanish without a word, you're not imagining the emotional chaos. This kind of inconsistency isn't just confusing, it's exhausting. You're constantly trying to decode their behavior, wondering if you did something wrong or if they've moved on with someone else, only to have them reappear just when you start to detach. It's like being stuck on an emotional seesaw where every high is followed by a sudden drop. And here's the thing most people don't realize. This push-pull pattern often reflects an avoidant attachment style at play. After a breakup especially, someone who leans avoidant might still crave connection but be terrified of intimacy. They want to feel close, but the second they start to feel vulnerable, they panic and retreat. What makes this dynamic even more painful is that when they pull away, it can activate your anxious tendencies, making you chase, overthink, and lose yourself trying to win them back. But what if the real answer isn't trying harder, but understanding the pattern? Avoidants fear the loss of independence just as much as they fear being alone. They're often torn between wanting someone there and needing emotional distance to feel safe. So when they say they want to see you, they probably do, but when it gets too real, they retreat again. This isn't about you not being enough. It's about them not feeling safe enough to stay open. So, how do you break that loop? You shift the dynamic by becoming the emotional anchor. That means working on your own attachment responses, so you're not reacting to their chaos, but creating calm. When you show up as emotionally secure, you're no longer chasing their validation. You're inviting trust. And here's where the curiosity kicks in. What happens when you stop overfunctioning and start leading the emotional tone of the connection? Would they feel more drawn to you? Or would their fear still dominate? Stick around to find out, because in the rest of this video, I'm going to show you how that shift plays out in real time and how it changes everything. But before we get into that, I want to know, have you ever been caught in this hot and cold trap? Drop a comment and tell me what their most confusing behavior was. I read every single one. And if you're tired of second-guessing yourself and want a clearer roadmap, check out the quiz I've linked below. It'll help you figure out where your relationship stands and whether you're building something real or just clinging to a hope that's holding you back. The third sign that they still care but are scared is that they will follow you on social media. One of the most subtle yet emotionally charged signs that your ex still hasn't let go but is afraid to come back is when they start orbiting you online. Maybe you've noticed they consistently watch your stories, like a few of your posts, or occasionally pop up in your notifications. And while that can feel like a spark of hope, the reality is much more layered. Social media behavior is often the lowest effort form of connection. It allows someone to stay tethered to your life without risking vulnerability, without having to say anything real. And yet, it means something. Not necessarily that they want you back, but that fully letting go still feels too final. If they were completely indifferent, they'd disengage entirely. But what you're seeing is often a form of emotional surveillance, a passive way to stay close without committing to real closeness. For someone with an avoidant attachment style, this makes total sense. They fear the intimacy of a direct conversation, but they also fear the emptiness of complete disconnection. So instead, they linger quietly in the background. And that silence, that's where a lot of people spiral. You might be asking yourself, if they care enough to keep checking in, why don't they just say something? But here's what's important to understand. Avoidant individuals are wired to process pain privately. When they're hurting, they don't vent, they withdraw. They sit in their silence and try to solve it alone. To the outside world, it might look like they've moved on, but internally, they're often stuck. And because expressing sadness or uncertainty feels like weakness to them, they'll avoid any behavior that might expose those emotions. So instead of calling, they'll accidentally like an old post. Instead of texting you, they'll watch your stories and hope you notice. But don't confuse these signals with real commitment. Watching your life unfold online isn't the same as showing up for you in it. If they want to be part of your life again, they need to earn that place, not drift silently around the edges. This is where your power comes in. The question isn't, do they miss me? It's, am I building a life that makes me proud with or without them? Because even if they do want to reconnect, that doesn't automatically mean you should. A meaningful relationship requires two people willing to invest, grow, and be emotionally available. Not one person overextending while the other tiptoes around their fear. If you're watching this right now, I want you to ask yourself, have I been mistaking attention for effort, engagement for emotional availability? Comment below with the most confusing thing your ex has done post-breakup. I want to hear your story. And if you found yourself in that limbo where they won't fully leave but won't fully return, there's a reason. And it's not because you're not enough. It's because they're still battling their own fears, their own past, their own idea of what connection even means. The most powerful thing you can do right now is take back the emotional lead. You don't need to chase clarity, you create it. When you heal your side of the attachment dynamic, you shift the whole rhythm of the connection. And that's when things start to change. Sometimes they come back. Sometimes you outgrow the version of you who wanted them to. Either way, you win. I've worked with hundreds of people who've gone through this exact cycle. And when they finally stopped asking, how do I get them back, and started asking, is this right for me? That's when everything shifted. So if you're ready to stop analyzing stories and start writing your own, stick around. Because the next part of this video might just give you the insight you didn't know you were missing. The fourth sign is that they mention the breakup but avoid solutions. One of the more confusing signs that your ex still cares, but isn't ready to step forward, is when they bring up the breakup but refuse to move toward a solution. You'll hear them say things like, I still think about you all the time, or you didn't do anything wrong, it's me. Or that classic line, you deserve someone better. And maybe for a second your heart lights up, because those words sound sincere. They sound like regret. But here's the emotional catch. When you look closer, there's no follow-through, no plan, no ownership, no movement, just vague guilt wrapped in poetic language. And here's what you have to know. Avoidantly attached individuals often struggle with internal conflict. They might feel the pain of losing you, but instead of taking action to repair the damage, they freeze. They overthink. They stay stuck in the question, what if I hurt you again? So rather than working toward growth, they pull away as a way of protecting both of you from a future they can't trust themselves to manage. That's not lack of care, it's lack of readiness. And emotionally, those are two very different things. This is what attachment theory refers to as deactivation, a defense mechanism where someone distances themselves from love to avoid feeling vulnerable. When it kicks in, they'll begin hyper-focusing on flaws. Everything that once felt warm now seems risky. Every disagreement feels like a red flag. The brain starts compiling evidence not for why the relationship can work, but why it shouldn't. And meanwhile, the anxious partner usually does the exact opposite, looking for signs of hope, remembering every good moment, clinging to the potential. This creates a painful emotional mismatch where one partner is shrinking away and the other is holding on tighter. And here's what I've found fascinating working with clients on both sides. Avoidants often need help seeing the strengths of the relationship they left behind, while anxious partners need help seeing the limitations they've been ignoring. Two sides of the same coin, but both need clarity. So ask yourself, are you holding on to words without watching for action? Because intention is nice, but transformation takes effort. It's one thing for someone to say you deserve more. It's another thing for them to rise and become more. If your ex expresses doubt or regret but avoids taking the next step, whether that's therapy, communication, or even just a clear conversation about what needs to change, then it's okay to honor what they feel without letting it hold your life in limbo. Growth doesn't happen in the comfort zone. And while it's absolutely true that attachment styles don't define your worth, they do define how someone navigates conflict, commitment, and closeness. And that matters. The person who's meant for you won't just bring up the past. They'll help build a future. So let me ask you, have you been in this exact moment where someone says just enough to keep your hope alive but not enough to create change? Comment below and tell me how they worded it. I promise, you're not the only one. And if you're serious about building a relationship rooted in safety, clarity, and mutual growth, stick with me. Because in the next part of this video, we'll break down how to respond securely to these conversations and how to finally stop mistaking emotional confession for emotional commitment. And the final sign is that they wait for you to act first because it's easier, because it's less risky. Sometimes the clearest sign that your ex still has feelings but isn't ready to face them is when they wait for you to make the first move. It's subtle, but it's powerful. You're left wondering, why haven't they reached out? If they cared, wouldn't they have done something by now? But what most people don't realize is that even the one who ended the relationship can carry a deep fear of rejection. Just because they walked away doesn't mean they're immune to the vulnerability of coming back. In fact, if they've started to realize they may have made a mistake, it takes enormous courage to approach the person they hurt. The fear becomes, what if they won't forgive me? What if I'm too late? And that hesitation, driven by guilt, by uncertainty, by pride, can keep two people in emotional limbo far longer than necessary. I've seen this so many times in my coaching. Two exes who genuinely want to reconnect, who miss each other deeply, but both waiting, both scared to be the one who puts their heart back on the line. And what happens? Nothing. Silence. Until one of them moves on, and the window quietly closes. That's why it's so important to read the emotional data, not just the digital silence. Look at how they've responded. Are they softening? Do they seem curious, present, even if they're not saying it outright? If so, you might need to lean in just a little. Now, I'm not saying you should always be the one to reach out. I'm also not telling you to break no contact just because you're lonely. No contact serves a real purpose. It resets emotional dynamics, gives you space to heal, to recenter. But no contact isn't a religion. It's a tool. And if you've done your inner work, rebuilt your emotional baseline, and you still feel that intuitive nudge that they're holding back out of fear, not indifference, then yes, reach out. Because here's the truth, the most painful part of a breakup isn't always the loss, it's the uncertainty. It's not knowing what could have happened if just one of you had said something real. And if you've reached a point where silence is costing you more than clarity, then you have every right to speak. Not to chase, not to beg, but to ask the question that your heart keeps circling. Is there still something here worth exploring? Worst case, you get an honest answer and finally stop replaying the what-ifs in your mind. Best case, you open a door that both of you have been too scared to knock on. Either way, you win, because you gain truth, and truth is what lets you finally move forward. So tell me in the comments, have you ever been in that stalemate? Both of you waiting, neither of you reaching out? What held you back? What made you act? Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. And if you're still unsure, still circling that question in your mind, stick with me, because in the next part of this video, I'll walk you through the exact script of how to reach out without losing yourself in the process. At the end of the day, what these 5 signs truly reveal isn't just about your ex. It's about the emotional tension that lives between fear and love, between wanting to connect and being terrified of what that connection might cost. Whether it's keeping conversations shallow, blowing hot and cold, orbiting your social media, expressing guilt without action, or waiting for you to make the first move, each behavior says more about their inner world than it does about your worth. And understanding that can be incredibly freeing. It reminds you that you're not crazy for sensing something underneath their silence. You're not needy for wanting clarity. You're human. We all long for closeness, but not at the cost of self-abandonment. What matters most now is how you respond, because the truth is, you can't force someone to be ready, but you can become the version of yourself who no longer clings to confusion, who asks the hard questions, who chooses peace over patterns, and who knows that the right relationship won't make you question your value. It will reflect it back to you. If this video helped bring you a little more clarity, a little more confidence, or just a deeper understanding of what's really going on beneath the surface, I'm truly grateful you spent this time with me. Thank you for watching, and if you found yourself nodding along at any point, or maybe even wrestling with what to do next, drop a comment and let me know which of these signs hit hardest for you. I read every single one. Your story matters, and chances are someone else is going through something similar right now and needs to hear they're not alone. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you want more grounded, no-fluff guidance on healing, connection, and how to navigate love with strength and self-respect. You deserve a relationship where clarity replaces confusion and where love never comes at the cost of your peace. Until next time, take care of your heart. It's worth protecting.